May you manifest every heart's desire. Young Heru. May you manifest every heart's desire. Young Heru. May you manifest every heart's desire. Judicial systems and politicians, the wicked, prey on the innocent, poverty-like conditions. Popular protocol, populate propositions. Your whole existence is probably out the picture. They out to get you. Foreign DNA in your mixture. Never thought I'd be touring CLA with these lectures. Made the elixir for the people to paint a picture. Clear as day in their brain. We create descriptions. Genesis around me, who could rhyme with me on the subject. Keeping the eye on me, whole society know what's up next. My sobriety flows entirely for the upset. Suppression of truth, back in the booth. School of coons in the coop, take them back to the roots. I'm a star like a monologue, not your kaboo. Coming hard, you should know the guard higher than you. Couple rappers in the game that I'm trying to chew. Couple countries on the plane, ain't I'm trying to view. I'm divine, you divine, what you trying to do? From my mind to your mind, let's align the crew. Every line is a sign, just combine the two. May you manifest every heart's desire. Young Heru. May you manifest every heart's desire. The generation of change, no longer we see meditation is strange. Maybe in different lanes, but the destination the same. Future seeing the wave, you hella late in the game. Gotta deal with the pain, repeating it is insane. Who protecting the culture? Who deflecting the vulture from scooping up all the folks up? Who you respect the most, influenced by and promote? Cause few and few of our role models moving is still a spoke of. For you there's no love. Black civil rights movement got you confused with the rules we illuminated, like who's related to who. Since the age of 2, made a fool what they say in the school don't pertain to you. Taint the truth, they playing it cool. Since the age of the noose, we've been making the news. Crooked cops running blocks now, spraying your boo. When they send me on their Glock now, aiming at you. When it pops bullets, you not gonna be able to chew. May you manifest every heart's desire. Young Heru. May you manifest every heart's desire. I am the original man, manifested, arrested inside a physical skin, to spread the message, a vessel of adolescents and kids. Bring them back to the essence of excellence and ideas. The weaponry make us seem lesser than we appear. No ego, the people say it's definitely my year. No question, a blessing, I'm investing it in my peers. The
EM Hotel. This is mfundishi jhutyms. Hassan Kamal Salim. Can anyone hear me? Respond back. Hotel family, this is mfundishi jhutyms. Ka N Heru. Hassan Kamal Salim. I was waiting on the host. I don't seem to have a host. I don't know if I'm supposed to be hosting myself, but I don't want to waste any time, so I'll get right into it. Um, I am a Kemetic spiritual priest, a grand master in the African martial arts called Kupagana and Gumi. I'm a professor of African studies. Okay, my brother, I had just started. I didn't see a host. I didn't know what was going on. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
You got any volume? Did you guys hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, sir. I sure can.
Okay.
I sure can. Thank you so much, brother, for coming in. Um, we had some technical difficulties. We had some music playing by our dear brother J. Mar Milton. Excellent music to bring in this type of guest. And sorry for those whom are waiting and coming in. Your people are definitely coming in, anxiously waiting. The great science that is being dropped. I want to first and foremost thank you for coming in and doing this interview with us, dear brother. And
Yes,
I
sir.
have two sources here. My channel, Get Your Hand Out My Pocket, which I am the host, Mr. X, and also Black Hot Fire Network, which is also a very similar channel, very deep in the knowledge. I mean, they go all over the universe, brother. So it's definitely some type of information that you would like, and the audience would certainly, their audience would certainly like what you have to bring. Um, some of them, a good majority of them, know who you are. Some of my audience knows who you are, but no one can introduce themselves better than the individual who's being interviewed. So, dear brother, Grandmaster, would you go ahead and give us an introduction and introduce yourself to the masses?
I'd first like to say, Amin Ra Asut Nature, Achin Ra Nebinunk, Jehuti Ru Nebhu, De Enu Ankh Uja Seneb Neb, Anejrak Amen, Anuk Amen, Amen, Anejrak Mut, Anuk Mut, Mut, Anejrak Kansu, Anuk Kansu, Kansu, Anejrak Asar, Anuk Asar, Asar. A Nejrak Aset, a Nook Aset, Aset, a Nejrak Haru, a Nook Haru. Haru represents higher consciousness. That's what this interview was all about, raising our spiritual, mental, physical vibration to be the best version of ourselves, to be the captain of our ships. I am Jehuti Haru, mfundishi Jehuti must, Ka N Heru, Hassan Kamal Salim. So I'll say that again. Mfundishi jhutyms, Ka N Heru, Hassan Kamal Salim. I'm a spiritual Kemetic priest. I'm a grand master in the African martial Manchu combat art. I'm a professor of African studies. I'm a crystallologist, and I am a chematologist, specializing in the Happy Valley, Happy Itiru of the Nile Valley. My homeland is Tanzania, and I am an Africologist, one who studies the indigenous cultures of African people throughout the continent. So thank you very much. I hope that's an introduction, give people an idea of who I am. I've been teaching in African studies since the 1970s. I was an assistant to Dr. Yosef Ben Yakiman, 10 trips or 9 trips to Egypt with him, Sudan, and Ethiopia. I'm a student of Dr. John Henry Clark. I'm a student of Dr. Jacob Crothers and the Kemetic Institute. And my Madu Necha teacher, I teach Madu Necha, is Sister Riketti Amen, who is a renowned linguist. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent intro. Thank you so much, brother, for joining us. We greatly appreciate all that you've done, all that you've accomplished, and that introduction through your assistant, my beautiful sister Sirius B. We wanted to talk about a myriad of different topics, and
Yes,
one
sir.
of the topics that struck me, I'm named Mr. X. I named myself after Minister Malcolm X, whom I call my spiritual ancestor, and she told me about your connection with him, and I wanted to get right into some of the things that maybe we don't know about Malcolm. We seen the Godfather of Harlem, right, and people have been watching that. We've seen the Lost Tapes documentary. We've seen Who Killed Malcolm X, and they kind of regurgitate the same talking points, really. And they say they have new information, but we all know that this information has been around for a long time, and we know the state likes to drop it every 5 or 10 years as if it was new, but they've always had it in their back file. One of the things that is a misnomer with Malcolm is when he gone to Africa, white folks like to say he came back and started loving all of them. And we like to say that that's false. Those who are nationalists, those who are African nationalists, Pan-African, so on and so forth, who have done the study and the research, know that that's not true. And you've had a connection to Malcolm and how he drove you to do the martial arts. Could you deal with the trip to Africa and what his real thought process was, and then his connection with you?
First, when we made my connections, I met Malcolm in 1964, early 1964. He was just had left the Nation of Islam at that point, or actually, he was still in suspension. He wasn't completely left the Nation of Islam when I came in time. Malcolm was passing out flyers on the corner of 125th Street and Lenox Avenue. And there used to be a bookstore there, right? Used to be an African bookstore there, and which I frequently went in trying to get some information. And Malcolm handed me a flyer, and it said, "Come to my newly formed organization called the Organization of Afro-American Unity." So he kind of had this in his head before he officially cut ties with the Nation of Islam. I think he knew that his time in the Nation of Islam was over. I think he knew before the final, before he finally was divorced from the organization. But he stated he was always a Muslim. I was never a Muslim. The Organization of Afro-American Unity was about Pan-Africanism. Malcolm used to say, if your religion hasn't done any more for you than it's done already, you need to leave it in the closet. When you come out here, we come out here as an African people. When you go home, then you can pray to your Pacific God or whoever you wish. But when we come out here, we need to have operational unity. We need to operate, because we don't catch hell because you're a Muslim. You don't catch hell because you're a Christian. You don't have to catch hell because you're a Hebrew Israelite. We catch hell because we're Black people. Malcolm was extremely clear about that. And his program was Pan-Africanism. So when he was traveling to Africa, he was making links. Malcolm was our unofficial. He was the unofficial African representative of America to all African countries. You understand? He was a diplomat to all the African countries. So he traveled to Ghana. He traveled to Tanzania, Kenya. He met Julius Nyerere. Okay. He went to Egypt. He went to the pyramids. He went to Saudi Arabia. He did the Hajj in Mecca. And let me just clear the thing about white people. He said white people who were Muslims. He said he met white people who were Muslims, and then they were brothers in the nation. I mean, in the religion. He wasn't talking about all white people in general. He was saying that there were white people who he could trust who were Muslims, and they had a common thread, a common faith. But he was a Pan-Africanist. He was for African unity. He wasn't for integration. He wasn't for kumbaya, let's march together. That was not his program. His program was, how can Africans in America link up with Africans in the diaspora, not just Africa, in the diaspora, to become a powerful link. He understood that Brazil had the largest amount of Africans outside of the African continent. He understood there was a whole group of Africans in India who were being oppressed, by the racist religious system, the untouchables, so he wanted to link up with all of these people, the Africans in London, the Africans in Europe and France. So Malcolm was moving towards that. He was beginning to be too powerful. And Malcolm even told us, he said, listen, this is beyond me being, my phone being bugged, me being watched every place I go as I travel from different countries. He says, this is beyond the power of the Nation of Islam. He knew that the Nation of Islam was in cahoots with the FBI and CIA. They were actually working together. And he was clear about that. But you know what? He didn't let it stop him from doing his program. And I think it's this gentle nature that Malcolm had that we don't understand. Malcolm was like your father, who was really teaching you with a gentle hand. And when he smiled, brother, he melts you in half. He had that father gently smile. And he loved to just put his hands on your shoulder, right? As he's talking to you, like son, like that. I started my martial arts, My first class at the UNI, the Universal Nick, no, excuse me, at the Organization of Afro-American Unity. My first class session, Malcolm said, self-respect, self-determination, self-defense. As of right now, everybody will be taking martial arts, self-defense, because to develop something and not be able to protect it is like not having it at all. So I started my martial arts at 14. Okay. And so I became a black belt when I finished college at 21. I started teaching at 23. And so I've been teaching martial arts since 1973. Okay. So you can add the years up. That's like 60, almost 60, almost 60, 50 plus years I've been teaching the martial arts. Okay. So that just gives you just a little background. And I was there in the Organization for Afro-American Unity when Malcolm was, I was actually one of the first youth organizers. So the youth wing of the Organization of African-American Unity. I was the first like youth coordinator. And then I developed an organization with my brother in New Jersey called Brands, which was like a branch of that. And Brands meant, well, we used to tell the parents in order for them to sign up, we said it meant black, real, ambitious, natural, and smooth. Now, who don't want to be that? Everybody want to be black, real, ambitious, natural, and smooth, right? But it really meant black revolutionaries for a new society. But we couldn't tell the parents that, or they would have freaked out, okay? Mm-hmm. And we had over 100 youth in our organization in 1966, 67. And that was in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm. Excellent, excellent.
That's my start with Malcolm, okay? All right, so I started on this political, cultural, spiritual trip with Malcolm. Before that, I was just trying to learn as much as I could about anything. I didn't have a real platform.
Malcolm, you know, I have this theory with Malcolm's assassination in terms of why they assassinated him the way that they did, that upwards of 500 people would be at the Audubon anytime that he was there doing a meeting. And so you had the whites there, you had the mid-level blacks, you had the low-level blacks, you had CIA, FBI, and all those guys in there in those meetings. So obviously all of them weren't for him, but the way that he was, like some people use the word wasted. My theory was that they did that so no one would ever try to take his place. That you hear some of the individuals who are well known in the conscious community say that, well, I ain't gonna let y'all do me like y'all did Malcolm. Do you think that was part of negating or pushing future revolutionaries from taking that type of stand, taking mainstream recognition to the streets and to the organizing table?
Right. They were trying to make a real statement. It wasn't like they killed King. You got a sniper from the back, you know. No, they wanted to show you right out. Pow, pow, pow. This is what we will do to anybody who opposes the structure that we've set up. Whether it be the Nation of Islam, whether it be Negroes, whether it be anybody who steps out and speaks for the grassroots of Africans. This is what will happen to you. And that's what they were trying to make a statement. That's what the shotgun, because the shotgun blast is actually what really killed Malcolm. Okay, you know, even though he was shot for the other gun. And then, you know, they found out who was the shotgun killer who never went to jail. But he died before they got a chance to really confront him, you know, but yes. And he was protected by the mosque in Newark, New Jersey. They protected him. They knew who the FBI knew who the killer was. And they let the other guy go to jail, who was, first of all, you know, the guy was dark and short. They let a light-skinned, tall guy take his place. I mean, that ain't even close, you know. So they just put a placeholder in there because people knew that the shotgun had actually did the front. So they just framed somebody for that. And that person just did 20-something years for, you know, because he was available. He wasn't even at the Audubon ballroom when Malcolm was killed. That's the real irony there. You know, so it shows you that the government, so I need people to be clear. The U.S. government was involved at every level of all of the assassinations of most of these. And now that, after 10 years, those files can be released. And now we see, like I said, they know who the killer of Malcolm. They knew everybody, all five. They knew all the names of those people, but they didn't come forward when this trial was on to release, because they weren't up. Just as long as Malcolm was dead, it was fine. Because they wanted Malcolm dead as much or more than the Nation of Islam.
Okay.
It was definitely a joint venture.
Okay. So with that being said, right, because I like to say that the new Black Power movement is the conscious community. And me and some individuals have this discussion. What's more important for African people to know more about spirituality or get involved in local and or national politics?
I would say to get more in touch with spirituality. Because, see, a lot of the politicians are not grounded. Let me just say something. If you don't have a grounded movement, even if you defeat your enemy, then your soldiers in your movement become your enemy. See, and history rewards all. That was one of Malcolm's favorite sayings, too. History rewards all research. All we got to do, look and see where you had a coup d'etat, where somebody just took over. It was the military. And it's because the military didn't have any spiritual backing. Their whole objective was just to beat the enemy. But they weren't grounded in anything. They didn't have a real political platform, spiritual platform of their own. So if our platform is Ma'at, and now we go into a revolutionary political atmosphere, then I know that Ma'at is going to be maintained no matter who the leader is. See, just think of most of the politicians. Most of the politicians think of right now the Black Caucus. Almost all of them are Boule. Boule is a wing of what? The Skull and Bones. So that means that their best interest is not ours, but they're Black. So if you take the political road, you're anti-African. We have to look, see, watch this here. When Marcus Garvey came here, Marcus Garvey basically fell because of the Black bourgeoisie, Boule, who were put up against Garvey to make sure he didn't. In fact, they're the ones that had him deported. Because when Marcus Garvey was in prison, he was still organizing, writing poetry, putting articles in the newspaper that was going around the world. And they said, oh, no. W.B. Du Bois said, oh, no, we got to get him out of here. And so it was the Black bourgeoisie that pushed to get Malcolm deported. And those were the same founders of the NAACP. And all the presidents of NAACP were white until the modern era. Because the European Jews were for Blacks, but they wanted to exploit the Blacks. They didn't want you to have your own business. They wanted you to come and spend your money with them.
Right.
Like they were the intermediaries. Yeah, you can't trust this government and the white folks. Come with us. We'll help you. And so we were the gravy train for European Jews. So that's why they supported NAACP, CORE, SNCC, all of them, because then we would be coming to them. And this was economically feasible for them. Farrakhan put that book out, the secret relationships between Jews, and that they finance the slave trade.
Right.
They created the insurance companies.
Right.
They financed, they backed the boats and paid salaries for the slaves to come here. So they weren't physically the ones on the ship enslaving you, but they economically financed it. It can be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. And so all of these multi-conglomerate million-dollar corporations, especially insurance companies and banks, were all founded on European enslavement of African people. So I'm trying to make things clear.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The interesting thing in terms of communication and me and some of my cohorts have this discussion that we have one tongue, well, two tongues. We have good English and bad English. So bad English is what you call Ebonics, the way we communicate with one another. But every other ethnic group can speak in their native tongue to block us out of the discussion. So they can be having real tangible discussions, which we know they are having, that we don't have. We talk about the basketball game, and they're talking about collective unity and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
What language, African language, could our people use to communicate with one another without whites knowing what the hell we doing?
Yes. See, this came up in the 60s. This came up when the African countries were beginning to get, become liberated. Ghana, the first one in 1957. And Kwame Nkrumah studied here. He got his revolutionary idea from Harlem.
Mm.
I hope you know that. In fact, where I live right now, at the corner of where I'm living right now, was the Harlem Club, History Club, where Dr. Clark, Dr. Ben, Chancellor Wadham, Kwame Nkrumah, all of them studied 100 meters from where I am right now.
Mm.
Okay, so that's where he got his ideas. So now you got all these emerging African countries, and then most of them are francophone. They, like the French colonized them. Then like Ghana, Nigeria, the British colonized, so they speak English. Then you got some that's speaking Arabic, Swahili. Kiswahili. That's why Malana Karenga chose Swahili in Kwanzaa. Because Swahili is the only African language that's the national language of an African country. There's 54 countries, I think 56 now, 54, 55, 56 African countries on the continent. All of them have a European language as the national official language.
Mm.
Only places like Tanzania and has Swahili. And now 16 countries, even Rwanda now has adopted. 16 East African countries have adopted Swahili. So I'm developing a school in Ghana, which is in West Africa, right? And Swahili is one of the mandatory languages that is there. So that's kind of like, and Swahili is not indigenous to just one little people. Swahili people just means the language of the coast, East Coast, right? And so it's an African language that we, as an African people, can culturally go back to for thousands of years, and it bonds us culturally. So you can still, if somebody's speaking like in Ghana, if they're speaking Ga or Shanti Tree, they can still do that, but then they learn Swahili. Okay, if you're speaking Wolof and still speak that, we're not telling Africans not to keep their native language. We're saying keep your native language and learn Swahili. So no matter where we are on the continent, we can all speak Swahili together. So it's beginning to happen, but real slow. Brother, Kwame Nkrumah, Jomo Kenyatta, Julius Nyerere, all of them were going to do that in the 1960s, but the Europeans came in and blocked it.
Mm.
They threaten people like Kenya and them. If you don't do this, we're gonna take your aid away.
Mm-hmm.
So y'all just speak English and be a good boy. And they did this to the other African countries because, unfortunately, brother, I hate to say this on national air, but a lot of our African countries are still on the take.
Yeah.
They can still be bought, and the Chinese are proving that.
Mm-hmm.
They can still be bought. Africa is for sale. We got to watch that. Okay? Or we'll be right back on the cotton patch. Okay? And this is why I'm so happy that Africans from the diaspora are starting to come back home. Big movement. A lot of businesses in Ghana, Tanzania, Rwanda are Africans from the diaspora, Africans from America, from the Caribbean, are going back to Africa. We're going back with our money. We're not going back with lip service. We're going back. I have a 100-acre farm in Ghana. We're building a whole school complex. I ain't begging nobody. We're just doing it, brother. And I'm not alone. There's a whole lot of Africans doing this. When I spoke at the University of Ghana in Accra, in Legon, maybe 150 plus people there. Maybe at least 1/3 of them were African Americans who were living there.
Wow.
But they're not doing anything politically. They just there living like white folks,
Mm-hmm.
They got nice big houses, got a nice big car. You know, in fact, 5 or 6 of them. Mfundishi, come stay with us. I got 3 extra rooms, you know, like, you know. But they're waiting for somebody like me to come so that they can politically do something. But they seem to don't have any backbone to just do it on their own. But they are starting businesses. And I'm really proud of the Ghanaians. They are becoming entrepreneurs now. When I was going there in the 50s and 70s, 60s and 70s, 1976 was my first trip there. Almost all manufacturing was done in Europe and America. Ghana, one of the leading producers of the cocoa bean, and had no manufacturing plants. Chocolate costs more in Ghana than it did in America or Europe. Now that's changed. Ghanaians got their own manufacturing companies. They're producing some dynamic chocolate, better than Nestle's or Swiss chocolate. I mean, they're really starting. Entrepreneurs are doing their clothes. In fact, their influence was from Africans from America. We help Africans become African.
Yeah.
That's what the Pan-African movement is doing, brothers and sisters. So Africans in America, when we start wearing afros, all of a sudden Africans start wearing afros. When we wore locks, all of a sudden Africans start wearing locks. Unfortunately, when some of us have our pants hanging down, some Africans got their pants hanging down too. I mean, it's a package deal. Okay. Hip-hop. Hip-hop is big in Africa. You know? Okay, so I'm just trying to say, we don't understand this. This is why it's so important, my brother. You asked me about the spirituality or just politics. This is why the spiritual aspect is so powerful, because we have such an influence on Africans in the world. Everybody want to know what we're doing. You understand that? So if we're just doing politics, we just belong to Bolé, we just collecting money, then that's what's going to happen. You see, we got to change this scenario. Watch this. White millionaires spend their money in Europe and America, reinvesting in the power structure of white supremacy.
Yep.
Asian millionaires spend their money in Asia and in Europe, trying to recertify themselves because they don't want what was it, Nagasaki, the atomic bomb thing happening again, right? Like in Japan. So they're doing both. They're investing in America. They're buying up property in America, but yet they build in Asia, right? Black millionaires are spending all their money on white folks. We're giving it right back, brother. Yeah. I just saw a thing, the 14 wealthiest blacks, all billionaires, right? And all of them are heavily invested in Europe and America, not Africa. So we got to change that scenario. So if you're spiritual, now you know, okay, if your culture is your medicine, I need to feed into African culture. I need to make African culture a brand that everybody wants. Not Jordans, not, Nike. I need an African brand with Africa on it that's going to make everybody want to gravitate towards it, to make them proud again. And only we can do that, brother. Only we can do that. Africans here got Gucci bags and Yves Saint Laurent bags and stuff like that because the Europeans have said that's what's in. That's prestigious. And that's outside of your culture bank. So that means that money is not going to us. It's going to some money to some people who don't even like you. All those people have even spoken out. The guy with the tree on the boot. What is that? What's that called?
That's Timberland. Yeah.
He made a statement. I don't make no shoes for black people. Yves Saint Laurent, all of them have made statements. We don't even want black people wearing our stuff. And we don't care. We're still getting it. So we got to change our mindset, brother. So spirituality far outweighs politics. But let me just say this. Dr. Jeffries makes this statement. Dr. Leonard Jeffries says you need this triangle, this pyramid. He says governance, which is politics, right? Culture and economics. Whoever controls that pyramid controls the community, the nation, the state. No place in America do we control the politics, the economics, and the culture. And see, the culture feeds the economics and that is protected by the politics.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned the school in Ghana, and I think if you look back during the period that you talked about, you had met Malcolm in the 70s, and I called the 70s kind of the end of the 60s, the 70s, the right time for revolution for Black people. That after the King assassination, brothers and sisters took to the streets. You know, you're gonna kill our Prince of Peace. Then there ain't really no more negotiation. Malcolm already gone. We had King. You kill King. Now that's it. When there's no more talking, and the Black man was a different man than what he is, you know, now. And the way that we get that Black man back is through the curriculum, through the educational system, building our own institutions and controlling them. Now, it'll be difficult to do it here. It can be done here, but in terms of total control and power, like you said, in terms of nation and governance and culture and economics, what's the best country in Africa that we could establish something like that? What's the most ripe nation that we can do that there?
Based upon my research, now there might be some other countries, but I have 3 at the top of my list. Okay, now there might be some other countries that's very open. I know South Africa constantly is sending me some stuff, but I would say Ghana, Tanzania, and Rwanda. Those 3, because they kind of got especially Tanzania and Rwanda have a non-compromising approach towards self-sufficiency. And Ghana is right there too. Those 3 countries are leading also with Africans moving back into the diaspora, to the continent. Okay, they lead that. Ghana got a repatriation system. Welcome back home. I think 2 years ago they had the year of return. So and Rwanda is opening their eyes, and Tanzania is opening their arms. I think over 500 African families moved to Tanzania last year. So Tanzania, and all 3 of them do speak English. So Africans from America and moving there won't have any problem. They can get around Ghana only speaking English. They can get around Rwanda and Tanzania only speaking English, even though they have other ethnic languages. So I would say those 3 at the top of the list. There's other African countries, I'm sure, but those 3 at the top of the list. See, in Ghana, and this is what really gets me, brother. You know what the first thing people say when I start talking about building a village in Ghana? Is it safe? And I almost want to laugh, bro. I'm saying you're living in a country that has more Black people in prison than all the rest of the prisons in the world. You're living in a country where a Black man gets shot by the police every single day. You're living, you see what I'm saying? You're living in a ghetto situation where Blacks killing Blacks are almost at an all-time high. Because like crabs in a barrel, brother. Crabs in the ocean don't kill each other or fight each other. Only when you put them in a barrel on top of each other, and anybody will do that. In fact, in the 1930s, when they did research, should they build projects, the outcome was no, because it sets up a very cultural deprived situation where you have a dog eat dog, crabs in the barrel syndrome. They did it with rats, and the rats killed each other.
Yeah.
But you know what? They saw how much money they can make. The European Jews saw how much money they can make, and they did it anyway.
Yep.
Just think about it, bro. You own a property, and you got 1,000 people paying rent on your property. So that, bump all that other stuff. This is a capitalist country. And so projects exist in every state, even though they know it's bad. They know it's poverty. They know it's going to have crime. They already know that. So I hope I'm answering your question, my brothers. It's a good point. I'm trying to make it clear. So those are the 3 countries where Africans can go. They're relatively safe. Just low crime in Tanzania, low crime in Rwanda. Rwanda is the cleanest country in the world. Not in Africa, the cleanest country in the world. There's a YouTube where a guy's eating his lunch in the gutter in Rwanda. right? He's sitting in the gutter right here, right? And he's having lunch. And then there's a guy coming by sweeping, and the extra guy says, "How many times do you do this?" And the guy said, "Oh, I do this 3 or 4 times a day." Everybody in the city, everybody has to clean up on Sunday. Everybody. If you don't clean up and you don't have a representative in your house cleaning up, you get fined.
Wow.
Garbage cans everywhere. You see what I'm saying? So Africa, in fact, before this pandemic, not pandemic, plandemic, before this pandemic, 8 of the 10 fastest growing countries in the world were all in Africa. Did you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
8 of the 10 fastest growing countries, nations were all in Africa. And the other 2 weren't Europeans either. They were people, of color outside of Africa, right? And so this pandemic, we gotta slow stuff down. We're moving into the age of Aquarius. Information is all over the place. Things are changing. We got to get a grip on people.
Right.
So this was to grab you, hold you back, until they can regroup with another program.
Right. Yep.
Plus, war doesn't kill enough people.
Right. Exactly.
The police are not killing enough people. We're not killing enough of each other. So, but with the disease now, you can't even blame it on nobody. We know you got high blood pressure. We know black people got bad health. We know your immune system is already compromised. This was a sweet deal for them. But it's somewhat backfired, brother. Because more Europeans are dying than black people. And Africa, as a continent, was the least affected of all of the continents.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Exactly. So I just wanted to just throw that out there. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yes, sir. And it's interesting, all the side effects of the pandemic and them, spreading this disease all over the globe. People make those biblical references, and the Minister Farrakhan has talked about God and putting his hand in destroying Babylon, which is representative of America. And as I'm thinking, this nation may not make the youngest dynasty to fall in African history. If you deal with the dynasties and how long that they lasted, America might not even make it. Where we at? Another 50 or 100 years. Yeah. How long you think America got to it falls completely apart?
I might be stretching it, but I'll say 50 years, and I might be stretching it. Because the economic system cannot maintain itself. This economic system is designed to collapse. Okay. The only reason why the American dollar is still strong around the world, brother, and I'm gonna be real with you, it's not based on no gold, it's not based on no silver, it's not based on any natural resources. It's based on the U.S. military. America has the most powerful military in the world. And that's why our dollar is still strong. I know people don't want to hear that, but that's the truth. America, it's not backed on anything else. It's backed on the U.S. military. Gaddafi tried to change it. Even our black president Obama and Hillary got together, kill him. They signed the papers. And Gaddafi said that Obama was his prodigal son. I got pictures of Gaddafi and Obama hugging and kissing each other.
Wow.
But you have to see, Obama was a placeholder. And Hillary, she just don't care. Right. Whoever's next got to go. Look at what Bill Clinton did. The 3 strikes you're out, drug struck, all of that, So the the Clintons together have probably put more black people in jail than any president and candidate. So and when you kill a president and they drag their body through the streets, brother.
Yeah.
And his main thing is he wanted to change the economics. He wanted the gold to be the standard and then sell his oil on gold and stuff like that. The tragedy here is that no African countries came to his aid.
Yeah.
So now I'm trying to reflect back to how powerful the U.S. military is.
Mm.
Israel's military is totally financed by America.
Right. Right.
So none of those countries there is going to really defeat Israel. They got the same might power, and America's their allies. They got the same missiles, the same planes, the same all of that. I think one of the first things Trump did was sell guns to Israel. One of his first deals is make sure unlimited guns got to Israel. Okay.
Wow.
When Israel changed their capital, everybody was opposed to that except for Trump.
Right.
Trump supported him. Yeah, whatever y'all want to do. Okay. So I need you to understand that America's military and Obama also continued the program of having U.S. military throughout all of the African continent. There's a base in Ghana. They signed a contract with the president of Ghana. The United States has a military base right there in Ghana. And most of West Africa, East Africa, South, U.S. is there. A strategic spot. So if something jump off, they there, brother. They're already there. They ain't got to ship stuff 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 troops over there. They already there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So America has strategically placed itself throughout the world, military.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let's go back to the educational infrastructure of African people. We mentioned universities, institutions, and knowing that the original universities came from our continent, and all the literature, yourself included, that has been established there, and you having your school and several other brothers trying to establish institutions so that we can capture back our mind. Can we go to certain books? What books, if we had a good 4 or 5 main books, have that main curriculum that absolutely have to be learned by all the students, what 4 or 5 main books should we start with in these institutions, and give a small description on said books?
I have an organization called Jhuty Heru Nebhu. It's a Kemetic spiritual organization, not a religion, a Kemetic spiritual organization. And we have a book list that all the initiates have to read and report on. So I'm going to just give some of those books that we do, and then I'll point out some other books. But we read because people want to know, well, mfundishi, if we were so bad, how are we getting this situation? So I said, no, read 2,000 seasons. So I'm going to put that up on the top of the list. Read 2,000 seasons, then read Things Fall Apart. So that gives you East Africa and West Africa. You'll find out that the Arabs sacked Egypt in 640, and enslavement of African people on a large scale was continued. The Romans had slavery, but it wasn't just for black people. The Arabs, really, blacks and white women were the slaves. And so that's from 640. So that's like they had 1,000-year jump on the Europeans. So when you read 2,000 seasons, boy, that gives you understand. And when you see all the characters that exist in that scenario, you'll see that they exist today. But if you don't know, remember Malcolm said history rewards all research. So if you don't know who were the game players that enslaved us and they still exist today, then you can't stop them. Okay. Then read Things Fall Apart. That brings us to West Africa. That took place in Nigeria around the time of the 15th century. Okay. And it tells you what happened there. How Africans went against their oracle. When the oracle said the Europeans are coming, the oracle said, do not let them in your land. Don't let them establish a church. Don't let them. And we did it anyway. Not following our cultural, spiritual leaders and stuff, we fell victim of our own ignorance. Okay. And so those are 2 books right off the hand. Then I want to say read Stolen Legacy. So I'm going to put Stolen Legacy. Then I'm going to say go to Diop and read Civilization or Barbarism or African Civilization. two major books by Diop. Then you're going to read Chancellor Williams. Then you're going to, okay, you got to go out there. Then you're going to read Dr. Yosef Ben Yaakman, Black Man of the Nile and Our Friends, right? I got such an enormous book list. I'm sitting here in my library. So I got books all over. Egypt Revisited by Van Sertima. And they came before Columbus, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. You're going to read, here's another one of my favorites. You're going to read The Wonderful Ethiopians of the Ancient Kushite Empire by Drusilla Houston. Okay. And you'll understand that even the first civilizations in Asia all come from East Africa. And this sister breaks it down. She wrote this book in the 30s, the 1930s, in the midst of all the lynching and stuff that was going on. And she just stood up and let them have it. So that's a champion. You definitely, I told you, Diop, Ancient African Origins of Civilization. You definitely want to read that one. Okay, definitely. And Civilization or Barbarism, by Diop. Anything that Jacob Crothers wrote, who's the founder of the Kemetic Institute in Chicago, and a co-founder, the first president of ASCAP, the Classical Association of African People. He got some books. Kemet and the African Worldview. He has another one, Irritated Genie. It talks about the whole Haitian Revolution by Jacob Crothers. Powerful book. Brothers, you stepped into my den. You in my library, so I'm like, I could go on all day here. Let me put a plug for my books. I got Kupagani and Gumi, okay, which came out in the early 90s. I got Spiritual Warriors Are Healers that came out in 2000. I got Menchu Hotep in the Spirit of the Magi, which came out 2017. And I got Shemsu Haru, Menchu Hotep in the Spirit of the Magi, which came out this year, 2021. So I got like 4 books. All of these are available that will definitely put you in the right. What happens is that when you start reading some of these other scholars, because they still got a European paradigm, they give you good stuff, but from a European paradigm, you got to undo now some of that stuff. When you read my books, you ain't got to undo stuff. Because see, I say we are upside down, inside out, and backwards. And if you're upside down, inside out, and backwards, learning from a symbolic system, then even if I give you some good information, brother, you can't do nothing with it. Think of all the good information our leaders have given us over the last 40 years, and we ain't did squat with it. Because Amos Wilson, also Black Power, by Blueprint for Black Power by Amos Wilson. I'm sorry, I didn't say that earlier. You got to read that. He tells you how to get out of this situation. Blueprint for Black Power, Amos Wilson. That's the last book he wrote. Amos Wilson used to say, we see each other through European eyes. Our standard of beauty is a European standard of beauty. Our formula for success is a European formula of success. So when we're successful, they benefit more than we do. When we even go on vacation, we go where Europeans go. We want to go to the French Riviera. We want to go see the Eiffel Tower. We want to go to London and watch the changing of the guards. What we need to be doing that for, bro? We want to go lay on the beach in the Bahamas. We're already black. We want to go shopping and get Gucci, Saint Laurent. Brother, that's insane. Amos Wilson was clear. We need to change our whole paradigm. You need an African center. Once you have the African center, now your schools come from there. Brother, let me just say this here about schools, brother. You asked about education. brother, our educational system is so bad it can't be repaired. I'm going to say that again. It's so bad it can't be repaired. It has to be dismantled.
Correct.
You can't fix the Board of Education. African Studies is a Band-Aid when you need a major operation.
Right.
Amamu Amir Baraka told us in the 70s the greatest African Studies department was the FBI. They know more about Black people, our habits, what we do, than any Black person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm serious, bro. So I'm trying to so my school that I'm developing in Ghana is going to be so revolutionary. First of all, Madu Netcher. So I want to speak on Madu Netcher if I can after I do this. Okay. Everybody learns Madu Netcher. That's our classical language. Then we learn Swahili, Tree, Yoruba, Fulani, the other language, and maybe one colonizing language, English. Okay. All right. Then we learn all our subjects in African languages.
Mm.
Not only does the school go from pre-K to PhD, but it has a dormitory to house you.
Mm.
I was an Ndundun minister of the independent of CB, the Council of Independent Black Institutions, for over 20 years. That's independent Black schools here in America. Mm. You know who our number one enemy was, brother? Black parents. Black parents who were sending their kids to an independent school.
Right.
So we would make 3 giant steps forward during the day. And then the kid goes home to one parent or a parent that's working 2 or 3 jobs. They're eating at McDonald's, if they eat. Okay. There's somebody running drugs at home. They got to go through a drug-infested neighborhood. Maybe an uncle is a molester. So now when they come back to school the next day, they probably didn't get a good breakfast. They came to school listening to hip hop. I'm talking about gangster hip hop. I'm not talking about revolutionaries, not KRS or something like that. Okay.
Right.
And so now when they get back in school, they're 2 steps behind where they started.
Right.
And then you go back and forth like this all year long. Television is babysitting them. So I looked at all of this, being in independent African schools for over 20-something years. I said, okay, how can I make this better? And then when we graduated students who were phenomenal, scored perfect scores on the SAT and stuff like that, then we pimped them out to all the Ivy League schools. They went to Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and you lost those kids. And then IBM, DuPont would pick them up, offer them $250,000 salaries. So now they out of the hood. So this was your best. So guess what? The Europeans get their best.
Yep.
And they get our best.
That's right.
Now that's an energy drain. That's an information drain. That's a political drain. You understand?
That's right.
And we haven't stopped it. I used to be so angry to see some little Black kid just score a perfect score on the SAT. The number 1 in his class. And then he gets a scholarship to all the Ivy League schools. And the parents are so happy. Ooh, that's my baby. No, your baby is just getting ready to get slaughtered.
Uh-huh.
You just lost your baby.
That's right.
And I went to the HBSU school. I went to Norfolk State University. My daughter went to Norfolk State University. But all that is a Black school. It's a white school in blackface. Mm-hmm. Let's be real. All the HBS, we had to protest to get an African Studies department. In the Black school.
Yep.
And then it was a real handkerchief head Negro program. It wasn't even a real revolutionary mind changing. Mm-hmm. My best teacher in Afro-American history was a white boy who was in the Peace Corps, and he was actually a really good teacher. But that's what I'm trying to say. This is at a Black school.
Wow.
So now, and listen, I'm glad they're there because culturally, we didn't learn about African culture. They enculturated you into white culture, but it was like being home. Like you had fathers and mothers that cared about you at the black institute. At those white schools, you just a number, brother.
Mm-hmm.
You just a number. I taught at Rutgers University. I did classes at Princeton. I taught at Essex County College, Middlesex County College. You just a number.
Right.
At the black school, the dean of men knows you first by first name, comes over to your house. Come on, Salim. You got to get it together, bro. You know, that's not happening at the white school. Right. So the love you got at the black school is the only reason why I push black schools. Okay.
Right.
Black university. But we need a total new curriculum. My curriculum is off the chain, brother. And guess what? We're living in a global society. So that means if Professor James Small is teaching a class, he could be in New York and teach my students in Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
And then via satellite, I can actually subcontract that out to other schools.
Mm-hmm.
If Dr. Lenny Jeffries is teaching a class on politics and governance here in New Jersey, he's teaching from New Jersey from his living room, but it's coming to my school in Ghana. And then we can pimp that. We can, I started to say pimp. We can let that out to Ghana, South Africa, any other independent schools. You see what I'm saying? So this is a global. You got to start thinking global. So I hope people who are listening, if you got something dynamic, you got to make it global. See, the problem is that Africans who are catching hell here in New York is catching the same type of hell they're catching in California. Mm-hmm. And the same type of hell they're catching in Michigan. And the same type of hell they're catching in Florida. And the same type of hell they're catching in Jamaica and Trinidad, right? So what works for me here will work for them at all those places. What works for us in Ghana, and the beautiful is in Ghana, is that we ain't worrying about the FBI coming in, knocking down our school, the doors. You know, Ghana kind of welcomes this independent school because we're helping them. You see what I'm saying? So they students got a campus that's thriving off of African culture. They see it 24/7. They don't go home, ain't no television. There's no distractions, brother.
Right.
The mamas and babas in the dormitories are the same type of teachers who are teaching them during the day, who love them, who got their best interest, who can reinforce their homework. Everybody wears African clothes to school.
That's right.
Everybody's speaking in African language and learning Madu Netra and other African languages. You see what I'm saying? Black heroes and sheroes are everywhere. Statues of ancient Kemet, Ghana, other parts of Africa, Zulu, are all on the campus. You see what I'm saying? Now that's just a prototype. I want to take that and now take it all around Africa. I can take it to the Caribbean. I can take it all around every place. Our model is like Booker T. Washington and the Tuskegee Institute.
Right.
They made the bricks and then built their own buildings.
That's right.
They farmed their own food and ate it in the cafeteria and all of that.
Right.
Right. They taught their own teachers and then hired them.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm taking that. That's why Marcus Garvey came to America to meet Booker T. Washington to do that all around Africa.
Mm-hmm.
But Booker T. Washington died before Marcus Garvey got here. So then he just toured around America and then landed up in Harlem and started the UNIA in Harlem. But he came here to complete and to continue Booker T. Washington's Tuskegee machine.
Right.
So I'm taking up the mantle, not talking about it. We're just going to do it, bro. You see what I'm saying? We're doing it. We're doing it. You was playing Brother Jamar Milton's rap before it came on. Jamar is helping us economically with that program also. He's also building a little community in Ghana, in Ghana. So we're moving, like I said, there's Africans doing the work. We got 100-acre farm. So our students learn to farm. They learn to cultivate. They learn to harvest. Then culinary arts, they learn to cook it and serve it. They learn to build. They learn, you see what I'm saying? All those hands-on skills. Plus, we're still doing all the sciences and everything, you know. So that has to happen. And then right across the street from that is a healing institution. Because you know we need healing, brother. We sick right now. We sick. Come on, ain't no argument here. You know we lead in diabetes, heart attacks, high blood pressure, almost every disease where the body's out of whack. Black people lead right now. Because we're eating the wrong foods. We're imitating the imitator. You know, in 1900, high blood pressure was a rich white man's disease from eating greasy high foods. We couldn't do that. Because we were eating collard greens and mashed potatoes and string beans and we were just we didn't have too much meat because they had all the meat. We were eating the leftovers, but now that situation, we eating whatever they eat.
Yeah.
But our body is not designed to do that. We can't digest milk. Only Europeans can digest milk. Dairy products, cheese, clogging up our system. Sugar, the #1 drug in the world. And we consuming pounds of it, brother, a year. So we have to change the way we eat, the way we think, and the way we live. And so this program that I want, if I set this up in America, brother, I would probably have the same thing that happened to Move in Philadelphia.
Yep.
They got bombed. The same thing that happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's what's waiting for me here in America. But see, I can do that in Ghana. And then Ghana, it could be duplicated throughout other places like that. So in case people say, well, come on, mfundishi, why are you not doing it here? I've been in independent institutions here for over 30 years. I know what the limit is. I know what will happen if you get too independent. A flag goes up. In fact, even this conversation we're having right now, brother, we're called Black cultural extremists. That's what the FBI got us labeled, brother. So we're on the FBI. Your station is being censored right now, right? We are Black identity extremists right now.
Yeah.
And that's against the law in America. Yeah. You can have little Chinatown, you can have Italy, you can have little France, but you can't have a little Africa from a comedic spiritual perspective. You can be Hebrew. They'll actually finance you. You want to be a Black Jew. They'll actually finance you. You want to be a good Christian, they'll give you a scholarship. You want to be a Muslim, you got money waiting for you. You want to be an independent spiritual thinker? Oh, no. So think about that, audience. Anytime your enemy is thankful that you're a Muslim, thankful that you're a Jew, thank you that you're a Christian, then you know that's the wrong thing for you to be in. They kind of upset about you, all this comedic stuff, this ankhs and all of this. They ain't too sure about that. Okay, then you know that's probably what you need to be moving towards. And then Qualis and Nakep, the Happy Valley, is the foundation of almost all those religions we talked about. But before you do your last question, your next question, whatever, I want to just talk about Medu Neter. The Medu Neter is what Europeans call hieroglyphics. That was the indigenous language. It was the language and the written writing of ancient Kemet. And ancient Kemet, is what they call Egypt today. It's no ancient Egypt. Egypt is a Greek name. So ancient Kemet in the Happy Valley. Kemet and Kash. Kash is what they call Kush or ancient Sudan, Ethiopia. Okay. So this writing comes from there. It's the oldest writing in the world. But this is the key. The writing helps us with what I call symptomatic thinking. There's an author called Edgar Ridley. And Edgar Ridley is an author of 3 books called The Golden Apple. And in The Golden Apple, he talks about symbolic thought versus symptomatic thought. Symbolic thought is the problem we're having in the world today. Religion is based upon symbolic thought. I don't have to prove anything, just believe. Symbolic thought. All religion is based upon symbolic thought. The educational system is based on symbolic thought. I don't have to. George Washington is the first president. That's a lie. Columbus discovered America. a lie. And we still got those holidays today. Okay.
Mhm.
So American educational system is based on symbolic thought. That's why I say we can't repair that.
Right. Right.
That has to be dismantled. Okay. Symptomatic thinking means that I know it intrinsically. See, the brain only operates two ways: symbolically or symptomatically. Symptomatic is innate to the human brain. That's how our ancestors operated for millions of years. That's fire. I know because it's hot, because I already burnt myself a dozen times. I know that's hot.
Right.
Okay. All right. So now, if I put a symbol up of a flame,
Right.
symbol, but I'm reading it symptomatically because I know that's hot. I know what that means.
Right.
Now, watch this here. Hitler took the swastika sign that means brotherhood and unity
Right.
for millions of years, or at least thousands of years, and turned it into the white Aryan brotherhood. So
Right.
now, if we see a swastika on somebody's hand, you think hate.
Right.
So, you see what symbolic thought can do if you don't
Right.
know the origins? Right?
Right.
The Ku Klux Klan outfit was worn in West Africa.
Wow.
Among initiates and people of that nature. The Klan took it. Now, if you see a brother in that, you're ready to lynch him. Okay. So you took something that's good because of symbolic thought. People come by my table and they'll see I have a, you probably can't see it there, but that's the Eye of Heru,
Okay.
right? The Ujat. They look at my table and they go, oh, you got Illuminati's. You got Illuminati symbols here. So the Europeans have taken some of our powerful symbols and they're using it because it works for them. It works for anybody. And now, because we don't know the origin of it, you're talking about, oh, that's a Illuminati sign. Not knowing that 5,000 years before there was the first Illuminati, we were using these symbols.
Mm-hmm.
So you see, symbolic thinking only is extremely dangerous. And that is what our politicians are pushing. So when you ask me, politics, or spirituality, you see, if politics is based upon symbolic thinking, that's going to always lead you towards being controlled and manipulated. Symptomatic thinking, I need to know intrinsically what it is. I know unquestionably. I can prove it. Nobody in the Bible read the Bible. Nobody in the Bible followed the Bible, but they're telling you you need to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? That's symbolic thought.
Mm-hmm.
Symbolic thought. Jesus was alone on the mountain, and he said, well, if Jesus was alone on the mountain, how you know what he said? And Jesus didn't write anything. He didn't leave no notes behind. Symbolic thought, okay? Symbolic thought, okay? I'm just trying to get people to think. People, my audience here, y'all don't have to agree with me. All I want you to do is to think. Intelligent. There is nothing you can't do. Think unlimited, think unlimited, think unlimited. When we think unlimited as a people, we will be unstoppable. Symptomatic thinking. Know it intrinsically. So the Madhu Netra, even though they use symbols, is based upon symptomatic thinking. I just had my students, I gave them a list of 10 birds that was used in the Madhu Netra. They had to go look up the birds for real. So I showed them how to draw it symbolically. But now symptomatically, they had to go look up each one of those birds. And they said, oh, wow, now we see why they use those birds. You know, you had the falcon, flies higher than any bird, faster than any bird. You know, you had the sparrow. There's always about something good happening and something, you know, dynamic happening, represents big, great. We had the owl who can turn his head 360 degrees. He flies silently when he comes down on his prey. He's nocturnal. He hunts at night. We had the ibis crane, the black crane. They learned the eating habits, the mating habits, the feeding habits of all of these animals. So now their mind grew. Now they're starting to think like the ancients thought. Why did they use the soot plant? Why is the soot plant a symbol of divinity in the South? Well, number one, it grows in the southern part of Kemet. So that's up south. Number two, the plant can be eaten. The plant can be woven into fabric, so you can make clothes out of it. You can make rope out of it. You can use it in building. You can clothes, eating, food. You see how powerful this one plant is? So the plant became a divine symbol. But if you only learn it symbolically, you don't know none of that. It's like the marijuana plant can do all of those same things. The hemp plant you can make clothes out of it. It could be fuel. You can eat it. You can smoke it. You can it has medicinal properties. You see that one plant. But if you don't know, if you only learn symbolic, now you're a prisoner of that. And so symptomatic thinking, that's one of Africa's problems today, the whole continent. It is symbolic, and Europeans are controlling the imagery. So that's dangerous. That's dangerous, brother. That means that you will enslave yourself even when the enemy's not around. Another book on that list, Carter G. Woodson, The Miseducation of the Negro. Yeah. He tells you that our most educated blacks will be our new enslavers.
Right.
Because they're programmed by our enemy, and now they're your leaders. And you look for them. Yes, that's Dr. Smith. Yeah, that's Dr. Robinson. You know, and you're going to get bamboozled. And they could be worse than the European. Hit me with any of your other questions. Go ahead.
You mentioned revolution quite a few times, and it's something I like to hold my hat on, because looking at those who are content creators, information givers, knowledge seekers, and knowledge dwellers, they have left out the revolutionary aspect, say from the brothers who was holding it down in the 90s when they were younger, during Khalid Muhammad's time, and even before then. It seems to be economics. And I'm all for economics, but it seems that we're washed in it now, and that we're gonna, it has this feeling of paying our way to freedom as opposed to fighting for it. And they mentioned Amos Wilson a lot, but Amos Wilson believed in armed struggle. He believed in turning over this government, and he believed in facing this white man, and that it was the black man's job to educate himself to a point of black liberation theology of sorts, and create that aggressive psychological mindset to face your enemy. You have to face your enemy. Why do you think certain entities have moved away from the revolutionary talking points or the revolutionary phase?
They've been paid, brother. Think about this. Anybody that gets a 501c3 can't talk about revolution. So if your church is tax exempt, if your organization is tax exempt, and you talk about revolution, you lose your 501c3 status right away. So all of these black organizations got bought. I'm telling you, brother. I know you don't want to hear this, but they got bought. Okay. If you got a tax exempt status, that means that in order to get tax exempt, you have to be doing something for the government. Other than that, why should I give you tax exempt? Do you notice right now that leading you to the slaughterhouse to get your vaccination shot is churches? Almost every church is a center to go get your vaccination. Because they're 501c3. They got to flow with the government. The government said do that. Simon says do this. Simon says do that. Yes. In fact, the church used to give you a $50 gift certificate from McDonald's for turning in your gun.
Yeah.
Right. No names. No names. We don't want to know who it is. Just turn your gun in. We give you a $50 certificate from McDonald's. And I had a picture on my website, right? My old website, and it had the average black male's closet and the average white male's closet. And inside of the average black male's closet was about 10 pair of sneakers. Yep. In some cases, 15 pair of sneakers. And the average white boy's closet was 10 or 15 different guns.
Yep.
Now, something happens, brother. You can't run in all them sneakers. You got to take one or two pair, maybe you throw a pair off your shoulders and head up, and you can't even defend yourself. Meanwhile, the black boy got 50 guns he's shooting at you. You see what I'm saying? So I kind of summed it up right there, bro. So let me just say this. So they bought us out of that. So we don't have guns anymore. We got sneakers.
Mm.
Okay. They still got guns. You notice the what is it, the gun republic or whatever that Trump was supporting and all that. What is it,
Yeah.
the IRS or whatever? No, what do they call the NRA?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, white folks are big on that. There's not a lot of black people in that. Very few. Okay. And that's by design, brother. That means that you can't defend yourself if something fall down.
Mm-hmm.
The FBI, the way the police have set up, everything is in blocks. We can cut off the city in about 10 minutes.
Yep.
I'm living in Manhattan. They can close the tunnel and the bridges, and this is a prison.
Yep.
Unless you know how to get out. I teach my students how to get out of Manhattan. I'm not going to say it here on the YouTube because I know FBI and CIA listening too, and they'll be blocking it. Okay. If they go on my website, they can say, "Mfundishi, I live in Manhattan. How do I get out of here in case something get funky?" And I'll be glad to text it to you. I know the FBI are going to be the first ones to ask me that question. Okay, all right. But I mean, Malcolm used to make the statement. He says, "I'd like to welcome my friends, my enemies, because I know y'all in here."
Yeah.
And let's be real. Even when Malcolm was assassinated, there was 10 FBI agents in the audience.
Yeah. Yeah.
10, just mixed in the crowd.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not under any illusion that only revolutionary conscious people are listening. Okay, but yes, brother, we got to be able to defend ourselves. White people are joining mixed martial arts classes and stuff like that. They're not doing it just because they ain't got nothing else to do. They're doing it to defend against us because we beat them up when we were in school, right? So now, so they know on an even playing field they can't beat us. So between the guns and the learning mixed martial arts, especially white women taking martial arts at an alarming rate. Every other white girl in a karate class or boxing class taking Tai Bo boxing or something. Meanwhile, the sisters is looking cute, getting weaves and and camel eyelashes and blonde hair, and white girls is preparing for revolution and looking for black men. And you know, so I'm trying to be real. What's going on here? And what's the homosexual rate among black men when I was at Atlanta was 81%. 81%, bro. That rivals Rome and Greece.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
You know, I guess brother Fig, it's safer to have a dress on than some sneakers and pants.
Go into that because you know I was in the audience when you came to Albany and I was grateful that you broached some of these discussions and these topics and you mentioned the LGBT agenda and how serious it is and how it's targeting us males first and foremost, and talk about the European trying to eliminate the warrior class and guard of his enemy, the subjugants, right? If I don't have to engage you in battle at all, why should I? Right? So let me stop you from even wanting to think about fighting me. I want you to think about other things and get involved in me in other ways. Go into that, please, if you could.
You had look at the black movement when Khalid Muhammad took over as the head of the new Black Panther Party. There was a whole warrior spirit on the Million Youth March. There was a warrior spirit in the air. That spirit is gone now, brother. When I saw Black Lives Matter in Harlem, there was more white people marching than black people.
Right.
Because they jumped on our back to get their political agenda together, to get Biden elected. So white folks joined us to co-opt it. Malcolm used to say, it used to be black. Then we poured so much milk in it. It used to wake you up. Now it puts you to sleep.
Yeah.
And nothing has changed, brother. That's what happened. The Black Lives Matter got infiltrated. And it was already anti-black male.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was right up to white boys. They felt safe.
Right.
White people felt safe coming into Black Lives Matter, ruled by Black lesbians.
Mm.
And people in the LBJ, WXYZ, all the alphabet community. Okay? Listen, brother, all of a sudden, why is queer a good thing? Being queer a good thing?
Right.
That boggles my mind. You know, yes, you have the right to be anything you want, but that don't make it good or bad. You have the right to be a murderer. That don't make it good.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
So, brother, when we go back to your question that you asked at the beginning, politics versus spirituality. Spirituality has to come in again. Because if I'm holding up the ankh, brother, that's male, female, children. That's the key of life. That's not two brothers, two sisters, or half a brother and half a sister. No. It's man, female, children.
Mm-hmm.
Without that, brother, that's all, folks. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You got to be serious about that. So, the Black Lives Matter, there's some positive and then there's some negatives. And all movements have that. But that's one of the things, is demasculating to the African male. And so that means, brother, what are your chances of winning in the war when you don't even know there's a war?
Right.
I think it's called 0%.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're so busy loving up on your enemy, but your enemy definitely got his foot up your butt,
Mm-hmm.
there's no victory in sight.
Mm-hmm.
None. And so we have fallen backwards. Our civil rights struggle, Malcolm said it should have been a human rights struggle, not a physical, not a civil rights struggle. See, Malcolm was so much ahead of his time. You're talking about get your hands out my pocket. Malcolm was so far ahead of his time. This is a human struggle.
Mm-hmm.
These are basic human rights. Civil rights can be taken away at any time. Human rights cross all international borders. You see what I'm saying? And we got duped into the civil rights, but now everybody benefited more than African people. We were the ones getting hosed in police, not the gays, not the lesbians, not the Mexicans, not the women. White women benefited more than anybody from the civil rights struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Then come gays and lesbians. They weren't the ones that got hosed down, shot, killed, bombed. We were the ones. But now we benefited the least amount. So that means that we need to take this struggle to a different level. And that's why action, brother, speaks more than words. And that's why I still teach martial arts class. My martial arts class, they learn weapons. We're not buying sneakers, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're not buying sneakers. I don't need to say what we're buying, but we're not buying sneakers. Yeah, okay. I did an interview only a month ago. A happy interview. Listen to it. And we talked about warfare. Did you see that?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes, right. So we talked about what we need to do to begin to arm ourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually to move forward. Mm-hmm. So those are some things we got to start talking about, being able to defend what we develop. Okay. And so, yes, you're building a school, but now can you politically and economically and spiritually defend that school? So that's what we're doing in Ghana. We're in a position to do that. A lot of people can't do that here in America.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And so this is like a catch-22. You got to make the schools better, but you're still very limited to some degree on what you can do. But if we change our thinking, then we can make greater progress. So you hear me talk about these 5 domains that we need to be in our educational system. Number 1, we need to learn about the mineral domain. The planet is a mineral. Stars are a mineral. The sun is a mineral. And you're made of some of those same minerals. Mm. You need to learn the plant domain. That's our food source and our medicine source. So your healing and your fuel is all from the plant domain. The animal domain is here to teach us how to survive in any terrain and how to be better animals, mammals. Because we're an animal, we're a mammal.
Mhm.
All right? How do we become the best? So we look at the most tenacious fighters. We look at the most tenacious hunters. We look at the most tenacious survivors, and we can imitate and emulate them
Mm.
in our own environment. But if you're so busy eating them, brother, you're not going to learn nothing. Okay. I saw an interview where a lady was at the zoo with her daughter, and there was a chicken in the roosted, and she asked her little girl, said, "What's that, baby?" And the little girl looked at the rooster and said, "Chicken McNuggets." She didn't even look at it as a human entity. Chicken nuggets, you know? I mean, that's the level that we're at, you know? So we looking at lamb chops and beef steaks, you know, when we look at the cow, as opposed to looking at this is a human, not a human, but a living creature that has a spirit and a soul, okay?
Mhm.
And how do we learn from those animals? Everyone has something to teach us. And when we learn Madhu nature, we learn that. And then after the animal game comes the human domain. That's number 4. We're psychotic as human beings because we don't know nothing about nothing else. We don't know nothing about the animal, the plant, or the mineral.
Right.
And then there's the spirit domain. And most of us scared of that.
Mhm.
And spirit is in everything. Spirit is in the plants. Spirit is in the mineral. Spirit is in the animal. And I teach from the Kemetic legacy that when gratitude is the greatest form of love, when genuine, unconditional love in the form of gratitude is exchanged between any two energies, that's you in a mineral, you in a plant, you in an animal, you in another human being, or you in the spirit, that secrets are exchanged. When I asked George Washington Carver, how did you invent 300 inventions from one peanut? He said, I loved it unconditionally. I cared for it. I talked with it, and it told me. How do you think a brother knew what a mineral was, how it would help him on his journey? He had a relationship with it. I tell people when they buy a crystal from me, talk to it, rub it, cleanse it, speak, keep it with you, meditate with it. Sometimes a crystal picks you instead of you picking it.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
There's a guy named Moto told us that water is a mineral also. Water is a compound, has the greatest memory of any compound molecule on the planet. So water holds memory. So the planet is 70% water, you're 70% water. So when I speak to water, it holds that memory. So that means positive self-talk is good because my water is holding that memory. You are great. You are dynamic. You are a divine being. When you talk to yourself like that, then you become that.
Mm-hmm.
Moto was speaking to water. He would say love, harmony, peace, and perfect crystals would form in the water when he froze it. He said things like, you fool, you ugly, you MFer.
Mm-hmm.
No crystal would form or it would be deformed. So the water, and it doesn't matter what language you're speaking because it's the intent behind it. So your water holds memory. So positive self-talk is one of the best things you can do. You programming yourself as opposed to the television program. That's why it's television programs, because you're being programmed by the TV. And you're not being programmed to love yourself, brother.
Mm-hmm.
What they did in 1950, the Board of Education was a test. I'm getting a freeze. The Board of Education, when they did the black doll, white doll test, what was that called?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Shoot, the brother who did it interviewed Malcolm X. Man, He interviewed Dr. King, Malcolm X, and James Baldwin.
Yeah. But anyhow, that was successful because of the programming that you get in America. So these kids weren't even in school yet. 4 years old, 3 years old. Which doll is the pretty doll? The white doll. Which doll is the smart doll? The white doll. What doll is the ugly doll? The black doll. What doll do you want to be like? The white doll. What doll do you look like? They black as smut. The white doll. What doll has good hair? The straight hair. Where did they learn that from? The programming of America, the television, the movies, billboards, advertisement. So even before they get into school, they're anti-black.
Yep.
So how do you counteract that, brother? You see that?
Yep.
So when you're talking about building institutions, you got to put all that in. And guess what? They did that same test in 2020. And they had the exact same results they had in 1950. That's 70 years later, brother. No progress. All these PhDs, all these black millionaires, and you got the same results. Black people hate black people. And the number one selling drug in Africa is bleaching cream.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So we got a powerful job to do.
Yeah.
So when you see me doing these interviews, when you see me writing these books, when you see me travel to Africa, I realize this is a 24/7 job. And when I lay to rest and return to the ancestors, I want people to say, well, mfundishi did all he could do during his lifetime. And then I left a legacy behind in my books, in the institutions that I'm building and developing. Well, let me just make this. We got we got a couple of things that everybody's involved in. I believe that all of us are visitors to this planet because we are divine spiritual beings having a divine human experience. So we're all visitors. Our job is to learn, to study, to share. Some of us to teach, to love, and to maintain balance on the planet, ma'at. And then last but not least, to complete your earthly mission and then return home. I'm going to say that one more time so people understand. We're all visitors. We come here to learn. So that's why the little kid is, why? What is this? Why? To the point where it irritates you. You be like, all right, shut up. No, trying to find out. They came here to learn.
Right.
And then you go to school to study. Then when you find out something profound, you share it. There's some people that excel more than others, so now they teach it. All of us must learn to love. And who do you love first? Self. We have a problem with self-love. That's why we can be abused every place. Dr. John Henry Clark said we have no friends in the world. Because we have given everybody kindness and everybody has abused us. It's love. And then we're here to protect the planet. We understand we're visitors here. And when you're a guest in somebody else's house, you want to keep it neat, brother. You want to keep it. You don't go to somebody's house and mess up stuff. Okay, you have to respect that domain and then complete our earthly mission. Most of us don't know why we're here.
Right.
When sister, the psychiatrist Frances Cress Welsing says she interviewed over 1,000 people at old people's homes and asked them what would they have done different, and 98% said they didn't do what they never knew what their mission was and they didn't follow it. And when they found out, they didn't even have enough energy to do it because they gave all their energy to their oppressor. You work a job until you're 65, 70 years old. Now you don't even got no energy to do your own thing. So you were born here to get a job. So just think, I don't know about your generation, but my generation, your parents told you get a good education so that you could get a good job.
Right.
And what they meant by a good education was a good white education.
Right.
The whiter the education, the better it is.
The better it was, yeah.
Right? And then get a good job. And a good job wasn't working with black people or being an entrepreneur. It was working for one of the IBM, one of the Fortune 500 companies, at the university, right? That's the wrong paradigm, brother. Yeah. I didn't teach my kids none of that stuff. Okay. So we got to change the whole paradigm. Mm-hmm. How do you become the best version of yourself? Mm-hmm. How do you become the captain of your ship? How do you develop your gift and give it to the world? That's what you should be about. Education should be trying to do that. How do I make the world, my people, my family better each day? See, we got to go from a spiritual perspective. If you start from a spiritual perspective, you can't go wrong. At the center of not religion now, religion is a box. Mm-hmm. Spiritual frees you. The whole universe is yours. Mm-hmm. I'm not anti-nobody. I don't care what your religion is. I don't even care. If you're a black man, I want to embrace you. If you are not a black man, then I need to check out what is your position in the world. Are you anti-black? Are you anti-nature? Then I know how to treat you at that point. Okay. But I'm not automatically anti-you because you're not black. I need to find out what your position is. And action speaks louder than words. And I know some of y'all are saying, oh man, Mfundishi is anti-white. No. I have friends who have white friends. And I don't have a problem with them.
Brother, I want to thank you for coming on. I greatly appreciate it. This has been a most excellent interview and a wealth of knowledge. And in closing, dear brother, anything that you want to talk about in terms of your books and the things that you're doing as you are an entrepreneur, you're a captain of your own ship, some of the offerings that you have for the brothers and sisters, go ahead and do that now.
So first of all, I want to redo my books. So if you get a chance, Kupagani and Gumi teach you how to be that warrior, how to be captain of your own ship. Spiritual Warriors Are Healers is like the Kemetic Spiritual Bible. It's teaching you how to embrace my art, how to develop a different paradigm, how to be African-centered, okay, and how to think symptomatically. Then I take those facts and I put them in the form of a novel, Menchu Hotep and the Spirit of the Magi. Most of us never heard of the word Magi. We heard of ninja and all of that, which comes out of this. Mm-hmm. Japan, the ninja in Japan is just 600 in the AD. This goes back 4,000, 5,000 BCE. Mm-hmm. All of the kings of ancient Egypt, the pharaohs, the Nasut Biti, their bodyguards were the Magi. The judges were Magi. So who are these people who only the king want to be his bodyguard and who are the most honorable people? Mm-hmm. You don't know nothing about them. Lucas, who did Star Wars and Star Trek, was a Egyptologist, closet Egyptologist. So the Jedi is the high order of the Magi. Mm. And they got you thinking the Jedi is from outer space. No, it's from Africa. Yeah. This book takes that to the next level and shows you just who the Jedi and the Magi are. Right. And we can re-invoke them today. So this book takes you on a rites of passage on how to use this Kemetic spiritual knowledge today. When he's being taught by the kings or by the philosophers and the poets and the masters, you're sitting there going, oh, wow, I can use that in my life. Oh, wow, I need to incorporate that. Mm-hmm. So it's not a book of fantasy. It's a book of proverbs, history, culture, spirit. You need to have a pen and pencil when you read my novel so that you can start jotting this stuff down. Okay. So my website is mfundishi.net. So hopefully you maybe put that up for them, brother. mfundishi.net. And my Facebook is mfundishi jhutyms. My Instagram is mfundishi jhutyms. So if you know my name, you can find me. My website, my Instagram, my Facebook, all of it the same. If you want to know about our Ghana project, if you go on my website, you can just put down Ghana, and it'll come up and it'll talk about the project that we're doing. You can donate to there. You can donate to, we have a GoFundMe there. I'm on 125th Street in Harlem, New York, between Malcolm X and Adam Clayton Powell. Listen to those powerful names, brother. I'm on 125th Street, which is really Martin Luther King Boulevard. In between Malcolm X and Adam Clayton Powell.
Wow.
Right. That's powerful, brother. Okay. I'm in the middle of the block right there. Okay. And I'm there usually 6 days a week. Okay. And unless it's raining or the weather's funky. And I'm there usually from 11 to 6, from 11 in the morning to 6 in the evening. And I pride myself of all the scholars that we have out here. I'm one of the few scholars that's accessible to the common public every day. Most of the scholars, you only see them on a lecture, on a YouTube. You don't get a chance to talk to them. You don't get a chance to interact with them. I teach classes online. So I talk about those domains. Well, I teach a mineral class. I teach crystallology online. I teach the Madhu Nature online, African spirituality online. I have something called Mfundishi Speaks, where I take topics that people are scared of, and I talk about it once a month. Like last month, I talked about how to move to the fourth and fifth dimension because people have been misleading you. It's only $25 a month. You go on my website and you can have Mfundishi Speaks. I speak tomorrow. Mfundishi Speaks, I'm sorry, it's Sunday. I have an event page. Like, for example, I'm here speaking with my divine brother right now. Okay. Get your hand out of my pocket, radio. Okay. Yes, tomorrow, I'm doing a tour to the Metropolitan Museum, to the Egyptian wing, and dispelling all the lies. That's from 10 to 1 tomorrow at the Metropolitan Museum. You can meet me in the lobby. Go on my website. You can pay. If you don't have time, you can just come and pay me when you get there. But I'm at the Metropolitan Museum in the lobby in front of the giant Egyptian statue. You can't miss it. It's the biggest thing in the lobby. I'll be right there. Sunday, I have Mfundishi Speaks. So I got a topic that people will try to shy away from. I'll be all over it this Sunday. Okay, so come out and hear me. Next semester, when we start again, I teach herbology. Turn your kitchen into a herb garden with all the things that you need to boost your immune system. And I teach you the herbs of the seasons and everything. I teach you how to eat correct food. I tell people, look, I'm in my 70s. I'm still almost doing backflips. Okay, you got to practice what you preach. This is not, unfortunately, a lot of my peers have fallen by the wayside, but I'm going strong, okay? And I'm going to continue to go strong. Brothers and sisters, practice what you preach. My first name is jhutyms, one who is articulate in thought, speech, writing, and action. So I live that. Mfundishi means great spiritual grandmaster. I live that. Ka N Heru means one who represents higher consciousness. I live that. Hassan Kamal Salim, a good person who was a peaceful warrior. I live that. So my name precedes me, my brother. And I like all those people who tolerated us for the last 2 hours almost. 2 hours. Okay. Thank you very much. And keep tuning in to get your hands out of my pocket. The brother's doing some good things here.
Thank you again, brother. I greatly appreciate it. We certainly, me and my wife make our trips to New York every summer at least to see family and go to 125th. So hopefully with the next month or so, we'll be down there and we'll certainly visit your table and, buy some things and get some knowledge and wisdom and understanding. Those who are in and around the country, please come to Harlem during the summertime. It's beautiful. Come see our people. We're still there. They're trying to push us all out, but the brothers and sisters still here, still there holding it down. Once again, brother, I want to thank you again for coming. I greatly appreciate you, brother, and peace. And I'm gonna finish off uh, uh, the
Shem
the
Shem Em Hotep Ankh Uja Seneb said, Ahatu.
peace, brother. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That was our brother, uh, Mfundishi did an excellent job, breaking down all those things that we all need to hear. It was an excellent interview. If you're in New York, the state of New York, and you're planning a trip to the city, please go out, support our brother. Mfundishi speaks every second Sunday at 9 p.m. He talks about the topics that certainly this channel and Black Hot Fire Network will touch on. But there's only a few people who really would divulge in the information and really go at it with a sense of bravado and courage that it needs to be addressed with. Our people are certainly going through some things. We're dealing with some things, and we talked about politics. We talked about spirituality. What's more important? Combining the two, going in one without the other. Spirituality, if you try to use it as escapism, the same as religion, that will still be subjugated. If you go into politics without any spirituality or any type of consciousness, we will still be subjugated. So to combine the two and make it a formidable foe, this is the only way we get away from your oppression or defeat your oppressor, because there's no way the individual entity that is the enslaved African can remove shackles and escape his plantation. But in terms of the total African collective, we cannot run away. There is no running away. We talked about revolution, and we talked about standing up, poking our chest out, and fighting this beast. This beast has said, if we can't control the planet, no one will. No one. And so I want to thank you all who came in and listened to the 2 hours interview. Powerful information. For those who came in late, listen to the playback. Okay. Listen to the playback. It's always important to come in on interviews on time, but I understand as a content creator and a listener of content, because I'm very familiar with our brother, and I've come into his interviews in the last 4 or 5 minutes. Like, damn. So, but I got the playback. So, when I'm out on the road trying to make money to support my family, I listen to the words and listen to the knowledge, and the best knowledge is the ancient dynasties and all that we have created, and that we are the beginning, the middle, and the end. And it empowers you when you learn these types of things. Not only starting a African spiritual library or Black liberation theology library, but going in to the content, consuming the information, and then putting it into action. And as the brother said, myself and other individuals, Justice Else of Albany, New York, connected to the Nation of Islam, we have tried to put something together in Albany consciously. We had Brother Mfundishi come up, and that was our beautiful sister, Sirius B. She put that together, and we certainly went out and supported, because ultimately we have different at the end of the day, we have to know about unifying in a way that is not uniformity, it's understanding we have a common denominator, we can work together for that common denominator, and that's all we need to do. And as long as we practice that code, keep that common denominator, we'll have some success. As Brother Mfundishi said, do what you have to do during your lifetime. Find it, what it is, your life's purpose. Stick to that, continue it until you transition. Leave a legacy behind Leave information behind so that those, hopefully, that are from your direct bloodline will take it and build upon it. But if you can't leave it to a direct bloodline, then have close confidants and friends, those who you are mentored and menteed, or believe in you, trust in you, love what you've done, and want to continue that. And you have to find them. You have to develop them. They won't just appear. We're looking for the Jesus. We're looking for the Messiah. We have to develop the Messiah. We have to give birth to the Messiah. Then teach the Messiah that the Messiah is here to be the Messiah. Don't be scared of it. Don't be afraid of it. Brothers and sisters, I want to thank you. I'll put up the, what's my thing at real quick. Do my little economic spiel real fast. And then I'll be gone because I'm sitting on this chair and my butt hurts. And even though I've gained weight and I went from 175 to 225, my butt still hurts sitting on the chair for 2 hours. I'm your host, Mr. X. Get your hand in my pocket, and X Sports, host sports revolutionaries. You can support the show, $, Mr. XR for Cash App. Listen to the playback again and listen to Brother Mfundishi's handles to be able to support him and his website and Facebook and so on and so forth, so you can support him financially. Finances is the most important thing in terms of revolutionary movement. All revolutions cost, right? For us to continue doing what we do, we need that support. And our brother has several streams of income as he's been doing this for 50, 60 years. Your brother's just starting, you know what I'm saying? But hopefully I continue to bring brothers like that. And I greatly appreciate that. And so that, you know, I have fishermen and fisherwomen who go out and find wonderful conscious brothers and elders and scholars who can give information so that you won't hear me ramble all the time on this channel. Okay? So thank you so much for listening. I greatly appreciate you all tuning in and coming to the channel. Please subscribe, share this, share it, listen to other videos. You may like your brother. You may want to hang out for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You know, and just like Brother Mfundishi said, you can contact the individual. You can contact him. You can meet him. You can shake his hand. You can ask him questions. You can do the same thing for me. All right. So thank you so much. I appreciate y'all. Peace.